You were quoted some point during the latter portion of your playing days as saying, "I've never found my identity in who I was as a football player. I found my identity in who I am in Christ. And when you find your identity as a Christian, then regardless of your status or your fame or your popularity or your position, that never changes. So the roller coaster that the world has always looked at my life and viewed, I'm very thankful that I didn't have to live it."
Yeah, I would probably tweak that and say, I believe that to be part of what I was pursuing, but I also believe I would miss the mark on that too many times too. Like, that's the truth.
Because you're human.
But I try to do that, but I have too many times. I know it's not a satisfying identity, but I've still placed it there so many times anyways. Mm-hmm. I would say I've missed the mark on that a whole lot more than I would like to admit.
But good for you for acknowledging it and recognizing that, because it's funny, I'm reading that, I'm like, come on.
Yeah, still so many times, even after you know it, I still lose sight of it.
Why?
So I have a portrait in that room because that's our TV room where I'll go in and we'll watch, for the most part, a lot of games, right? Do you know how easy it is for me to go in there, watch a game, and lose perspective?
In losing perspective to you
Just
means
on
what?
Just on what really matters. Lose perspective on how I'm supposed to see the world, how I'm supposed to see people.
And how does that come out in you when you're in those moments?
It's easy. You could watch Florida lose last weekend, and you can be, so frustrated and lose perspective. You can get caught up in just so many things that just don't matter. But why I tell that story is because there's a portrait right when you walk in, and you have to see it when you walk in, and you have to see it when you walk out. And I put it there for a reason, because I know that I have a tendency to lose perspective on things that just don't matter. It doesn't mean that we can't care about them. It just means when they're not in their proper position, then I'm out of whack. And it's a portrait of a young boy named Fransky. Fransky is from Haiti. And to make a long story short, that Fransky was abandoned as a baby with special needs and a whole bunch of issues that he had to fight. And Fransky was taken into the care of our partners, and many days when I would be in Haiti, I would get to carry Fransky, and Fransky never had the ability to speak and never had the ability to walk, but several years ago, Fransky got sick, and we had to rush him to a medical clinic that wouldn't take him, because they viewed him as cursed and insignificant, because they believed because he was born with special needs. And so, to make a long story short, rushed him to a hospital, another hospital, another hospital. They wouldn't take him, they wouldn't take him, they wouldn't take him. And then by the time they got him into a hospital that would admit him, within a few minutes, he ended up passing away. And when I walk in and out of there, I need to see that portrait of Fransky, because it reminds me of the things that are more important. And it's a portrait of Fransky wearing a crown, smiling, because when I would carry him around, even though he couldn't talk, every room that you'd bring him in, that you'd carry him in, he would light up the room with his smile. And so I wanted to see him the way I'm supposed to see him, as royalty with the crown, not as the way that too many people that saw him as insignificant or less than and viewed him as cursed. And we think, well, we don't actually view people like that. Well, maybe not all the time, but we don't view people with worth and value. We look by them, we look past them, we look around them. Why? Most of the time because we think they're not important enough to stop for.